to Inspired Impact TV. I am so excited to be here with you today. I have a very, very special guest for you. I had the pleasure of being introduced to this amazing human by one of our other co-authors, Denise McCormick, who is another exceptional soul. I can't wait to have her here on here as well. But I was introduced to Dr. Angela Williamson, I want to say, over a year ago now? I'm so bad with time. It feels like we've known each other forever.
I know. We've done so much in our short time together.
Yes. And Dr. Angela Williamson, when I met her, was an award-winning film producer, and since has become a #1 best-selling author 2 times over. She has also given me the honor of coming to my Dare to Dream live events and taking the stage as our keynote speaker, and also gave me such personal joy and fulfillment by inviting me to the Library of Congress along with my family and my children, where Rosa Parks was being honored. And I'll let her tell you a little bit more about how this all ties in. But I just wanted to give a really beautiful background to our amazing guest today and all of the different layers and elements and brilliance that Angela brings to the table. So first of all, welcome, Angela. I am so happy to have you here. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. It's so great to see you. It's a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I'm so happy to have you here as well. You are one of the most inspirational people that I follow out, and I see all of the amazing things that you're doing out there every single day. I can't keep up. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's this. Oh my gosh, there's this. I just love it, right? And that inspires me. That inspires me because I can tell that you have deep passion for the work that you are doing, right? And so can you share with me and our audience, what is it that inspires you to have this drive and this commitment to the work that you're putting out in the world?
I love that question. I think, and I had to think about this long and hard over the last few years, because everybody probably feels this way when your life starts taking off in a new direction and you're just going. Sometimes you have to sit back and think about what's important to you. And when I think about what inspires me and what gets me going every day, it's the stories that I hear from everyday people just like me, just like you, doing these extraordinary things through adversity, through challenges, through changes that they cannot control. And those stories, for some reason, they fuel me. And I never realized that until the last few years, because I knew there was something. There's something that would always drive me, but it's those stories. And it really hit me a few years ago when I was speaking, and so where I met Denise McCormick, and somebody called me a storyteller. And I'm like, wow. Really? Well, what makes a storyteller? Well, it's the stories that they hear. And what inspires me to be that storyteller is the real stories of people who people wouldn't think that they would be able to make this impact. And they do it through the changes that happen their way or adversity. And I feel that those stories not only inspire me, but can inspire others. So that's why I think that's what keeps me going, is when I can hear these incredible stories and see the people behind them, then I know that, I'm just a little bleep on what's, happening in this universe, because there's all these different stories happening that makes our world a better place.
Yeah, and then one of the stories that you are choosing to share with us, right, is also demonstrated in the documentary that you have poured your heart and soul into. And I mentioned in our introduction that Your documentary has received awards, and I also have here in the title some very exciting news that you do have a documentary that's going to be airing on PBS this Saturday. Can you share a little bit about what we can expect and what we can look for on Saturday?
I mean, every documentary filmmaker, I mean, their goal is to be on PBS. I mean, because what does PBS stand for? I mean, it stands for educating. It stands for telling those stories that inspire us. And so when I was given this opportunity, and it's been in the making the last few months, but this, I will tell you, Kate, this is actually the third PBS station that this was submitted to.
Oh,
And so, I mean, part of our story is being tenacious, don't you think? Because the first time I submitted it, it was through a contact, and I thought it would be no problems. But then there's like, well, it's great, but no, thank you. And then the other one was contact, and she had already had her documentary on PBS, and our documentaries are similar. And she's a wonderful cheerleader, and so she's like, I'm going to submit it to this one, and then I never heard anything.
Wow.
So, yes. So by the time KLCS and the production manager said, do you want to air the documentary on our station? I'm like, yes, please.
For you.
But you know what, sometimes too, and I know you're a firm believer in how the universe talks to us, but maybe it wasn't time, because this is the perfect time, because it commemorates an important event that's 65 years in the making. So it's perfect that this would air. This is actually will be the second showing. It premiered on December 1st, which is the actual day 55 years ago or 65 years ago when Rosa Parks was arrested. And then tomorrow, which commemorates 65 years of the start of the Montgomery bus boycott. So it's perfect. I was just hoping to get it on once, and that Ty has taken a chance on this. He is the production manager, and put it on both significant dates. I was just so honored to do that. So not only will they see the documentary, but they really let me get creative behind it. And that makes me really happy. And we were able to actually film a roughly 30-minute special after the documentary, where I talked to Assemblywoman Eloise Gomez Reyes. She is responsible for getting the funding for a Rosa Parks statue in the city of San Bernardino, of all places. And so I was able, through her office, I mean, her office is wonderful. I was able to get us on location there to shoot that special with her. And she tells us she's another incredible person. And that's why I said people's stories, that's what inspires me, because just to hear her story. And she talks about not just what she has done, but she also talks about how others helped her get this statue in the city of San Bernardino. And then we also talk about, and you will love this as a parent, because education is such a key. We talk about the importance of ethnic studies, because every state is looking at adding ethnic studies into elementary schools and middle schools and high schools and colleges. And so we talk about that, because she knows some people who've written laws about that and new legislation. And so we talk about that as well. And so I think that's so important right now. And it's an honor, but it's also an honor to see, because she talks about in our conversation how we're both women and how important women are to making change. And so, I mean, how could I not be inspired by that? Because I felt, wow, I'm part of it. I'm a woman. I can be part of change. So I know. And so, I mean, it's all a part of the chance that I took in my darkest hour of trying to get a new, a humanized approach to who Rosa Parks was. And it is just opened up so many phenomenal doors.
And that's what happens when we choose to see that light or hold on to that light, right? When we're in our darkest moments, right? Because the darkest moments are there to teach us. They're there for lessons. And sometimes, most often we don't see the lesson at the time. The lesson is not what comes next, right? What comes next is growth, right? And we don't know where that's going to lead us until we've taken that inspired action and we've taken the necessary steps. And then all of a sudden we can look back and say, oh, okay, now it makes sense. Now I've received what I was supposed to. So the hardest thing to do is take that first step, right? Which is what you're saying you did. And before we came on live here, you and I just had a very brief conversation, but, anytime that any of you can spend with this amazing woman, and myself included, it doesn't take long. You receive beautiful pearls of wisdom. And what I just got from you in a very short period of time is that, it's easy for people to see, all of the fruits of the labor, right? And all of the things that have come to fruition right here in the last few minutes, even, right? You have just said, you talked about getting a statue and shooting a 30-minute short film and your documentary being aired on PBS, right? And all of these amazing things. And I can imagine, because myself, I'm in awe of this. And I'm sure people out there are like, what is happening, right? But what they don't see often, what most of us don't see, because it's impossible to show all of the behind the scenes stuff. It is impossible to show the hard work, right? The late nights, the very early mornings, the different choices and sacrifices that must be made in order for those types of things to manifest and come to fruition and reality in our lives. So would you just share with us a little bit more about, what has gone into this to get you to a point where you can have a statue of Rosa Parks in San Bernardino and be having this film air on your dream station, right? Things like that.
Well, I think it all comes from just the early research that I did on Rosa Parks. And I had the honor of interviewing and there's been a lot of wonderful biographies on her, but I always talk about Dr. Jean Theoharis because I think she did the most extensive biography on Rosa Parks. And in the way that she tells that story of Rosa Parks is that I see a Rosa Parks who realize that there are things you have to do over and over and over again before they make an impact. And in the case of, I just, shared about the documentary, in my case, third time's a charm. But I mean, it's learning how to get yourself through those challenging situations to continue on your journey and mission, because I think we are all put here for our own journey, but we all have our own personal mission. You cannot be, and this is just my firm belief, you cannot be on this earth and breathe the air that you breathe and not have a purpose. I just don't believe that.
That's exactly right. Your purpose is your rent.
Yes.
So if you're breathing the air,
what I would love it to tell me, Kate, is that my purpose can run smoothly and I will never have anything where there is a break in the tracks in the road or there's a mountain that I have to climb. And that is where my growth has come, because those mountains have been so steep for me that I didn't know if I could climb them. And something that I have learned, and this is because I wrote that forward for your book, that was really what we call, self-reflective for me, to go back and see that journey and to see the growth, but to learn from it. And what I have learned is things that I hear every day from a lot of authors in your series. I'm going to just talk about Katie really quick. Katie Jeffcoat. I'm going to talk about her really quick because I did a Facebook Live with her, and she actually said, it's so important. We're doing all this stuff, but it's important for us too to hear from other people that what we're doing, it matters. It matter. And so it not only was a challenge for me to make sure that I do that, but she was speaking to my heart, because I think a lot of times when you are in this journey and you have your own personal mission, there's a sensitivity to you that gets hurt a lot easier. But you can't always acknowledge that hurt because you have a mission. And
Mm.
by her saying that, I realized that is so important. So, when friends tell me you're doing great, or I'm not always, I don't see everything, but I'm behind you. Things
Yeah.
like that, they don't realize the importance of that because no, you don't have to send me anything. Although I will always take C's chocolate, I don't care. But it's those words. That's what Katie was saying. It's those words of encouragement. And
Yeah.
sometimes people don't realize that movers and shakers like you and myself, we need those kind words because those kind words, they are energy. Because let's face it, people are so easy to give you the negative and they don't realize that's negative. That's negative energy. But if someone can put positive words into you, that energy is so much greater than that negative energy that comes. And so I think that's so important. And as we talk about, everybody they're talking about right now, oh, I'm so done with December, I'm ready for 2021. But I'm ready to follow that advice that I've been given. Is do I, or am I giving people who I see who are working really hard to change how this world works? Am I pouring into them just a positive message? Even if that's just a heart, a like on any of their messages. And then also too, it's okay for me to reach out to sisters like you and Katie and Denise and all our other sisters too. I can't think of your names right now, but it's okay to reach out to them and say, I just want to hear something positive from you, because
Absolutely.
it's learning how to get those people that surround me every day to get us together so that we can continue the journey that we're all set to do. Because even though we're doing it differently, we're all doing it for the same goal, is for the best of the people.
That's exactly right. The ripple effect for the greatest good of all involved, right? For the best of the people. I love it. And everyone's climbing their own mountain. So when you're climbing that mountain, and even when you get to the top of the mountain, all of a sudden you're like, well, when you're in it, when you're climbing, you don't recognize that you might feel a little lonely, right? But when you get to the top, you're like, oh, right? You might need a little bit of, a good job, right? Words of encouragement, right? Positive affirmations that you made a difference, right? I feel like that's really what it is, the appreciation and the difference that you may have made in someone's life, right? You're familiar with the Pathway to Miracles, one of the programs that I have. And within that program, one of the underlying threads is appreciation, right? So every day it starts with giving appreciation to one person. And then the second day it's two people, and so on and so forth. And we get all the way up to 30 days, right? And giving appreciation to 30 people, right? In one day. But it is magnificent exactly what you're saying, the amount of positive energy that gets exchanged just based on just letting someone know that they're appreciated, right? That they're doing something good. But something else that you say here really reminds me of something, which is nobody starts at the top of that mountain, right? Like nobody starts on top. And it's kind of also what we're talking about here, right? The only person that starts on top is the person digging the hole, right? Right? So what happens?
I love it.
Person, right? They're done their job. They're in the hole. Like it caves in on them, right? Like nobody wants that. Like nobody wants to be the person starting on top, because the only person starting on top digs a hole and is caving in. Everyone else does what you're saying. Everyone else is brick by brick, like step by step, climbing that mountain. And so it just goes to show, and something that you said to me earlier, is that anybody can do what I'm doing. Like it's a process. It takes work, but everyone can have these results in their own personal mission, right? Which is what you're saying.
Yes.
So I'm curious if you could share with us, because I don't know how you do all that you do. I want to know. This is a selfish question. I want to know.
And maybe I don't know how I do what I do. So it's interesting.
Tell us a little bit about how do you stay motivated, or what does a day look like for you where you can stay on track? What are your favorite ways to set a goal, or really move forward towards a goal, like anything like that that you might be able to share with someone out there saying, I do have a personal mission, I do have a dream, but what are the first steps that I can take? You're saying that anybody can do what I do. What would you recommend to me as a place to start?
A lot of times when I'm starting something new, and I will tell you, every time I've started something new, I have not been the expert. I
I
have
love this.
not been the expert.
Hmm.
So that's why I realized, and even now I realize that I can go to my social media pages, and I will tell you 90% of it's positive. And I have been so blessed to be surrounded by so much knowledge
Hmm.
that when I'm starting something new, I think about it and I ponder it, see if it's something I could do. But I reach out first to the person I think is knowledgeable and talk to them. And it's all a part of learning to humble yourself.
Hmm.
Because when I looked at the things I've been doing the last few years, especially the tons of interviews I've been doing. I mean,
Hmm.
not just for the documentary, but for the children's book,
Yes.
and the interviews I've had to do on the PBS show. I realized it starts with humility and reaching to the person who's the expert in it. And it's not, they might not have a PhD or doctorate, but they have the life experience. And there's so much you can learn from that person.
Mhm.
And then once you talk to that person, it's trusting that person to do their job.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
being a creative, I know if I'm trusting people like my book publisher and my illustrator and my book designer, and they know what I want, I'm listening to them, because I don't make this change that I'm trying to aspire to make. I don't make that change without a solid team without me behind me.
That's
Is what
exactly
I
right.
So I
Yeah,
don't do that.
that's
I don't do that change. And I think a lot of times when we look at things, around us, especially, and I'm not putting it down because I am in the media, but we always look at the media as a way of how we decide to do things. And we're always seeing things at the level of perfection. We
mhm.
don't realize that the level of perfection comes when you humble yourself and surround yourself with people who specialize in their own perfections.
Mhm.
And so um, that really, you when you're doing things like this, you have to put yourself aside. So one of the things I always tell my guys, and it's like a phrase that I always say in our house, is like, you need to get over yourself. And sometimes we do.
Yes.
When we want to do something great, we have to learn in a way to get over ourselves and to reach out to those people to do what they do. Because everything that I have right now that has my name attached to it,
Yes.
it's because I had people behind me,
Yes.
and I humbled myself to trust them in their talent.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I was speaking. I was on some type of mastermind call. It was all set like 7, 8 figure mastermind type of conversation, right? And I just had one question, and I said, um, it was team related to
Yeah.
what you're talking about here, with like getting people behind you and trusting people. And the one gentleman said, he said, you trust your team with your life and walk away, or you'll never be successful to the level that you want to be. And I went, whoa, that was his one piece of advice. That's it. That was it. I went, wow, that's fascinating. That's just that level of trust. Like, that's it. I hired you to do a job. I trust you with my life. I'm walking away. Let me know if you need me, because otherwise it just won't work to the extent that you desire it to, like the extent that you want to elevate, right? And I thought, wow, that's remarkable. But I think also what you're saying is like, your net worth is also equal to your net work, right? And so it's the people that are surrounding you. And when I say net worth, I mean success, achievement of goals. It doesn't
Yes.
necessarily have to be monetary. It doesn't necessarily have to be that money goal that you have in mind, but it is achievement of what
Yes.
it is that you're looking, right, to get out there in the world. And so the team really is what is the bread and butter to all of that. I had a really kind of funny, it ended up being a really funny conversation with my team. We were all starting to learn each other. One of my virtual assistant was there, and a couple other people on the team, and they were talking about organization. And I just had to pause, and I said at one point, I said, the entire reason that you all are here is to organize it. Like, if I knew how to do it and it was my zone of genius, it would already be done, right? Because it was kind of like, well, I don't see this and I don't see that. And I was like, oh, no, that's actually the entire reason you're here, is to create that, right? Like, and they went, oh, like, aha, like light bulb moment, right? And I had to explain, look, when we all just show up and only do what's in our zone of genius, right? Like, with what is within my personal mission, like you said, oh, they let me be creative behind the scenes, which I love. That's your zone of genius, right? And all of the other things, right? Like the publishing perhaps, and, just different elements of it that perhaps you aren't quite the expert in yet. That is where you would extend your network, right? To elevate you to that next level. So I love all of this. What amazing information that anybody can apply to any personal mission that they have, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I firmly believe that if 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 your mission is aligned with the people that you're connected with, and even though they offer different things to the table,
Right.
but if your missions are aligned, you have no worries, especially because even with the children's book, we think about that process was so nice and smooth. It was such a smooth process, but we couldn't control a pandemic.
Mhm.
We,
Right.
I mean, we couldn't control things like that, but because we were all bringing in our expertise to the table and we trusted each other with that, we
Yes.
still made our end goal.
Mhm.
And I think that's so important. And a lot of times people wonder, and not every project that I've done has turned out. And trust me, I've got stories for you. But
That's
what
right.
I realize is that the projects that have been completed is that we were all aligned for the same mission,
Mhm.
and we all trusted, like you said, the expertise brought to the table, to a
That's
point when someone comes to the table and suggests maybe we should tweak it and do it a little bit different this way. Then we just follow it
yes.
because we know that's what that person's here for.
Right.
And I think that's too, even when you're telling me about the mastermind, I think, to me, when I look at what that person said, that's a person that I want to be under, because to me, that's the true definition of leadership.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. That's right. Taking yourself out of the equation and allowing somebody else to step in and elevate themselves, right? It's like growing people as well within, right? Yeah. Yes. Allowing the growth of not just yourself and your goal, but all of the people involved in the project, right? That's really where that beautiful ripple effect begins to happen.
Exactly.
So I just want to recognize that you do have your beautiful children's book behind you, right?
Yes, I
My
love
Life
it.
with Rosie, yes, and you also have the documentary behind. Okay, yeah, we can see the documentary as well. So that's beautiful. And I do want to ask one more question as we are entering into our holiday season, actually right in the middle of it right now, right? Just wrapping up Thanksgiving and continuing on to our holiday season and then into the new year of 2021. This entire conversation has been incredibly inspiring, but what can you share with us as what I view you as one of the main experts in inspiration, as a source of inspiration? So for anybody not following Dr. Angela by now, please go ahead and get yourself a little follow on social media, because a main source of inspiration for sure you are. But what can you share with us today, perhaps, ways that we can stay inspired in the new year?
Yeah, I think this is such a challenge for everyone right now, and including myself. We have to do things differently this year.
Mhm.
But I think as we look into 2021, because if we survived 2020 and we didn't just in a lot of cases survive, a lot of people thrived
Absolutely.
2020. And
Yeah.
so in that case, if you had to all of a sudden start working remotely and you started realizing that you're doing your job differently this year, if your kids are now doing school remotely and you survive that,
Yeah.
you change the way you spend time together, you change the way you vacation, you change the way you you do your daily exercise, things like that.
Yes.
You have thrived. I mean, because everyone this year, and I don't know where I got this word from. I got this word from a small business owner and I keep using it. We have all learned to pivot
Mm-hmm.
this year. And
That's
so
exactly
my
the word I was thinking.
I know, and I know they said the word of the year is pandemic, but I think the word of the year for me is pivot. And so how do we take what we've learned in our ways of pivoting this year and carry that forward in 2021? Because the only way that I could see that we survive this is by learning to trust each other
Mm-hmm.
and learning to find the good in each other. So every time we all have New Year's goals. I mean, some of my New Year's goals never change. But this year I'm going to ask myself is how, now that I've learned how to pivot, how can I be that person to help other people pivot who feel a little bit overwhelmed right now or things like that. I think if we all just did that, it takes a kind word. I mean, that's what Katie was saying. It just takes one kind word. Maybe our this time next year in 2021, we're in a much better place than what we are in right now.
Absolutely. Well, with the work that you're bringing in the world, I see that happening not only for you and the people around in your circles and the people connected with you, but all of us following, even, part of what we're talking about here today, with all of us doing this, right? With all of us making that pivot, with all of us sharing kind words, with all of us following that passion. When all of us say yes to our personal life mission, we really can make a difference. It's an individual choice, but it's a collective intention. And so I just thank you so much for being here today and sharing your beautiful wisdom with us. Can you let everyone know where they can connect with you and where they can find you? And also your books as well and documentary.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. The children's book, My Life with Rosie, A Bond Between Cousins, is available on Amazon right now. So a perfect Christmas gift, along with a lot of other books that we have on the Inspire the Women Who Illuminate, is perfect too, especially right now. We need illumination.
And these books are also available internationally. I'll just make a note of that. So for all of our audience all over the world, they can access these books in other countries as well. So just as a side note.
I love that. You see, and that's why you are my book publisher. So that's absolutely perfect too. My Life with Rosie is on Amazon right now as well. And if you are a Prime member, it's free. But if you can stream it tomorrow and watch that special with Assembly Woman Reyes, I mean, she is, oh my goodness, I'm so proud that I always tell, you're my Assembly member person. And I say it double like that, but it's because she's so incredible. And I think right now, we need to be inspired to see people like this.
Absolutely.
And so that will definitely, if you want to get information on that, go to the Facebook page, My Life with Rosie, for the documentary, for the children's book, which I also read the children's book. So this can be perfect too for moms out there. If you want to look at that video for your children tomorrow in to commemorate the 65th anniversary, that's on the My Life with Rosie, A Bond Between Cousins Facebook page. And then the public affairs show that I do, we actually upload those to YouTube after they air, and you can follow me on Facebook at Everybody KLCS, and you get those inspiring stories because I know you will be inspired like I am inspired as well. And then, just find me on Twitter Dr. Angela SW1.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Absolutely perfect. Thank you so much. We'll drop some of these links below also, so that everybody has easy access for Christmas
Yes.
shopping and accessibility to the documentary and all of the things, including following you as well. So thank you for your time today. Thank you for bringing all of your brilliance and true inspiration to not just me, but also all of the people that we're connected with. You are just such a special human. I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you. So thank you for being here, and we shall talk soon.
Absolutely. Take care.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.